Hey guys, welcome back. In the last few videos I've gotten the question about macros and what macros I personally use. So today I thought I'd try something different than the speed leveling videos of late, and I want to go over those macros. Macros are your own quality of life upgrades for your character. To keep this video in line with the speed leveling, however, I will mark them with this amazing Tyrant head if the macro is useful for your leveling process. All the other macros that I will talk about in this video will be listed down below, so you can easily copy and paste them into your own macro log. So let's jump right in, shall we? We'll start with probably the most important line in your Druid macros, and that's the Cancellara line. What this line does is cancel you out of any shapeshift that you are in and will immediately allow you to cast another spell. It will also provide the ability to shapeshift into another form without having to exit the current form. Later on, past level 40, you have to take into account the fact that you might have dire bear form instead of bear form, and you could also add a / dismount or Cancellara with the name of your go-to mount, for example the Grey Kodo. I start off most of my macros with this code, however sometimes you need to take in regard the fact that you're already in a form. For example, my dash and prowl macros, they do not have the cat form in the Cancellara line. This prevents me from accidentally swapping out of cat form and losing my energy. On the screen right now are my 3 macros for my shapeshifts. As you can see, there is a / stopcasting command in between the lines. What this does is it allows me to exit the form back to normal form by simply pressing the same keybind again. For example, my Shift plus F keybind is my keybind for cat form. Pressing it once will get me into cat form. Pressing it twice will release me out of that form and allow me to hand in quests, since you cannot talk to NPCs while in cat form, all while still being able to shapeshift into another form straight from cat form. Another example of using the Cancellara macro is with this dash macro. As you can see, there is no Cancellara cat form, so it will never remove cat form, but rather cast dash only when you're pressing it. This macro will allow you to shift into cat form and cast dash in the same global cooldown. If you're using it from normal form or any other shape, you will also remove any roots or other snaring effects on you. It is a macro I definitely recommend using. To follow up on the dash macro, I also use a prowl macro. This is great for when you're running around the world in terraform or on your mount and you spot an alliance or you want to initiate a fight with a random NPC. You will immediately go into cat form and go into stealth. With the Cancellara line, you once again are able to go into stealth straight away from bear form, for example, as well. The Cancellara line macro gives you a lot of freedom, and it's great fun to play around with to see where you can push your character. The main 2 macros that I use this on are War Stomp out of form and a Rejuve out of form macro. They are pretty self-explanatory. The War Stomp will cast War Stomp straight out of form, saving you a global cooldown, and the same goes for the Rejuvenation one. It will cast Rejuve straight out of form on yourself. It's great when you're done fighting a few mobs. You can cast Rejuve out of bear or cat form and you can continue with very little to no downtime. The last macro that uses this line that I want to talk about is the one that kills totems. This macro will only be used by Tauren Druids during the leveling. Night Elves might want to keep this macro around a bit longer for PvP against shamans. Basically, what this macro does is it cancels your form and casts a rank 1 Moonfire on the nearest totem, quickly destroying it. Unfortunately, I have no footage showing off how this works. The next part that I want to talk about are Mouseover macros. These macros are incredibly useful when it comes to healing, curing poison, or dispelling curses in raids or parties. Mouseover macros do exactly what they are named after. You can mouse over a target and cast a spell on them. This allows you to maintain your current target but still heal or decurse a different player. Personally, I only use Mouseover macros for Rejuve, Abolish Poison and Cure Curse, but you can pretty much apply this command to any spell that you like. I really encourage you to play around with it until you find what you think works best for you, because simply watching this video copying me won't exactly work for everyone. If you want to specify what rank spell the macro uses, simply put the rank in brackets behind the name of the spell itself. You could even add a shift or alt modifier to the macro that allows you to downrank within the same macro, but more on that in a bit when I explain modifier macros. Mouseover macros work on player frames, raid frames, and even hovering over the actual character. There is a lot of versatility to it, and it can be really useful in a lot of different shapes. The final part are modifier macros. These macros are arguably more versatile and customizable than Mouseover macros. Basically, what a modifier macro does is cast one spell when the original keybind is pressed, but another when the modifier key is pressed. For example, the macro on screen will cast Healing Touch in its normal state, but when I hold the Alt key it will cast Regrowth instead. This allows for so much customization, and on top of that it will also save you an action bar slot, which is incredibly useful in the later stages of the game. The most common modifier keys are Shift, Control and Alt, but you could change it to whatever you feel comfortable with. Some options of customization are Healing Touch rank 10 when casting it in a normal way, but Healing Touch rank 6 when holding Shift, for example. This is just a basic example, but you could go way more in depth into what you want with the macros. You could even link it to another macro and start the sequence. Your action bars are numbered like your gear slots are, and you can link the macro to the macro position on your action bars. And since your macros are only limited to 255 characters, almost like a tweet, in theory you could link 5 macros of 255 characters to another and have the game play your own character. But that's that's something for another time. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's not something I've done before, and I hope all the information that I gave came across in a decent manner. If you have any suggestions for another video or feedback on this one, please let me know, even if it's negative feedback. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good one. Oh my god. The reason people use Mouseover sometimes I wonder why I cannot read. Modifier macros require so much more versatility than Mouseover macros that oh my god, it's so hot in here. Someone, please save me. The final thing. Someone help me. I am observing the curious behavior of a housefly.